Hello, hello, I am the Flying Deutschman, and welcome back to another segment of the Flying Film Reviews. Yes, we are back indeed, and today we have another film to review, and I bet many of you will know this film, or at least know this franchise, because I bet the Force is with you all. But before I get started, I feel like I should get into something just a wee bit more professional, and so hopefully the Force will be with me, and 1, and 2, and 3. Well, it looks like it was. The Force was indeed with me, and so, if you're ready, and if I'm ready, and if we're both ready, without further ado, let us get started. And the film that I will be reviewing today is none other than Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. Now, this film stars, as many of you already know, Daisy Ridley as Rey, John Boyega as Finn, Oscar Isaac as Poe, and Adam Driver as Kylo Ren / Ben Solo. And what I want to start by saying is that I really did enjoy this movie. Throughout the times and weeks that I've heard people talking about it, I've heard either one of two things. Either you liked it or you didn't like it. So I was very interested to see what I would think. Now, I have enjoyed the films in the past. The Last Jedi was a little iffy for me for different reasons, but I wanted to come into this with a clear head, and I did. And you know what? I have to say, I really did enjoy it. Now, that doesn't mean that I didn't have some questions about it, but we'll get there later. But yes, I did enjoy this film. I mean, everything about it was Star Wars. Yes, graphics, story, everything about it. I did enjoy it. I had a grand old time watching this film and seeing how the saga was gonna sort of end, even though they left it somewhat open, but I'll get to that. So first off, I'm just going to talk about graphics quick. Graphics are always great. These films have always had great graphics. You know, the color correction and the coloring of these films has always been a very eye-opener, popping sensation that I've always enjoyed. It's always crisp, clear, and concise on what they're trying to do, and they've always achieved that. From the lightsabers, to the blaster bullets, to the ships, to the suns, to the ocean waves and how they wanted those to look, everything looked beautiful. It really did. I really enjoyed, like I said, the graphics of this film. Bravo to them. Again, I know there's always some kind of Oscar, nom for films like these with graphics and sound editing, and the sound was great as well. I'll move right into that. Had a great time with the sound. I mean, you can't not get chills when you hear that of a lightsaber. Am I wrong? Am I wrong? No, I don't think I am. You hear that and you're like, Star Wars, I'm watching Star Wars. And I mean, the blaster bullets, even though the stormtroopers can't hit worth crap, because they just stink. I think their big helmets just get in the way. They can't see, except they did hit Poe. So congrats to them, even though they still got owned, which I'm, glad to see. But they got one guy for once. Bravo to them. Bravo to you stormtroopers. Good job, even though, you're just whatever in the end. But yeah, sound is great. Like I said, from the lightsaber to the blaster bullets to the ships to the atmospheric sounds, everything was crisp and clear, and I very much enjoyed hearing it in the theater and having it blow towards me. I think for one moment my cheeks were kind of going and I was like, Star Wars. Next, I'm going to talk about the story. The story was, pretty straightforward. You figure that out, in the end. They're not uber complicated, which is what I like about Star Wars, and I don't think Star Wars is supposed to be uber complicated. And so, like I said in the beginning, you find out that Finn, Poe, and Chewbacca are on a mission to go get a recording or some info from a spy / rat in the First Order. And so they're there, and we find out that Rey is actually training, so she is not with them at the time. They are in separate places. They are not together. And so, obviously, stuff goes wrong right away. They get the message, but TIE fighters come zooming on in. Rey gets frigging mind-boggled by Kylo Ren touching the Darth Vader mask. Now, that would screw with anyone's head if you are getting in there. Be like, get out, move. And so after meeting our heroes for the beginning of this film, we find out that they have to get to the hidden Sith planet known as Exegol. Now, this planet can only be found using a Sith wayfinder, and there's only 2 of them made, and Kylo Ren has 1 of them. Yes. Only 2 made. Only 2. And so that is where their journey begins. And they have to go to this fun new world where there's some big old party going on. And they need to find the bounty hunter that Luke Skywalker had been tracking down. Now, they do run into some trouble at this planet and this party. But we run into a familiar face, otherwise known as Lando Calrissian, played by Billy D. Williams. So that's kind of a fun, like nostalgic look as they're bringing him back, because he was in the original ones with Han Solo and Lando Calrissian. So that was kind of cool. So he saves them for the moment. They get free, but they run into some more danger along the way. And then they fall in quicksand, and then they find out what actually happened to this bounty hunter. He fell in the quicksand and never got out. And so they have found his dagger, though, that says where the Wayfinder, otherwise known as the Sith Wayfinder, is located. Now, they also run into some more trouble once they get out. Obviously, Kylo Ren appears, and some more of the Knights of Ren capture Chewie. Oh no, the Wookiee Chewie is captured, yes. And so the story progresses. Rey and Kylo Ren keep having their weird sort of bond thing. There's a very cool fight that I'm going to quick talk about now that happens between them. And the director and everyone involved did a wonderful job with this, because it's spinning. The camera like spins, but you see that Rey is at some point on Kylo Ren's ship in his quarters, and Kylo Ren is on this other planet where Rey and company, I'll say, used to be. And as they're battling, they don't really know where each other are, but they keep going, and it keeps switching from one environment to the other, switch one environment to the other. And I really thought that was a cool aspect they brought into this film. What I really enjoyed is when Rey sliced open a bag of beans, it did fall over the floor where she was. It wasn't until the Vader mask got destroyed that Kylo Ren realized she's on his ship. Rey is on his ship in his quarters, and that is where he needs to go. They save Chewbacca, but Rey encounters Kylo Ren, and she's ready to confront him when he tells her that she is not a Skywalker or anything else like that. She is a Palpatine. A Palpatine, you say? Oh, that's right. Did I forget to say that? In the beginning of the film, we meet Palpatine. He is somehow alive. I will get to that later. Yes, Palpatine is alive, and apparently Rey is the granddaughter of Palpatine. And now Rey's world is just shattered, because how can she be the granddaughter of a Sith Lord? Like, what? I mean, the Emperor, the Sith Emperor. You can see it in her eyes. She's like, no. She's saved by the Millennium Falcon once again. They travel to where they need to get the Wayfinder, which is on a planet that contains the Death Star, the wrecked Death Star, I should say. And so she makes her way there, once again encountering Kylo Ren. But before that, she has a vision of herself as the Sith Queen, per se. And she sees herself in a black robe and a double red lightsaber. The action's kind of cool, but she sees herself and she has to fight against herself, and that's when she meets Kylo Ren. And unfortunately, someone is killed. Yes, killed, you say? Okay, I'll tell you. It's Kylo Ren. What? But the only reason he's killed is because Leia speaks to him through the Force. I will get to that. Speaks to him through the Force and gets him to stop. And that's when Rey grabs his lightsaber and stabs him. Like, what? But she feels so bad because she can sense through the Force that Leia has now passed away. She uses the Force ability to give some of her life essence to Kylo Ren and saves him. And then she runs away, like everyone else would. She runs away and she goes to the island where we met Luke Skywalker in The Last Jedi. And Luke talks to her and tells her that it is okay that she has Palpatine blood, because it's not blood that defines you, it is who you are and what you want to be. And both Luke and Leia saw that even before knowing that she had the power to become a Jedi. They knew she would be, that she would overcome her blood. While back on base, Finn and Poe round up the gang to figure out what they're going to do next. This is when Luke, as talking to Rey, she realizes that the Wayfinder, when she gets her courage up and realizes, I need to go do this, I need to destroy Palpatine, finds the Wayfinder in Ren's crashed ship that she stole to get to this island. And as she makes her way on Luke's ship from the very original series, she's using the Wayfinder and giving the signals/coordinates to Poe and Finn back on base to round up the crew and bring them all to Exegol. Now there is a giant battle that ensues on Exegol. People die, lightning is happening, but in the end, our heroes prevail. Our heroes do prevail, but not without a cost. To save Rey, Kylo Ren must give the last of his life essence to her, because after she saved him, he changed his ways, and we got to see Harrison Ford again. And so yes, Kylo Ren and Rey battle with each other. They are now both on the same side, which is crazy enough. Rey is the one who takes out Palpatine using the power of all the Force wielders before her and all the Jedi that came before her. But once again, I said Kylo Ren ends up giving the rest of his life essence to save her. Now, the ending of this film, Rey goes back to Luke's home from where we first met Luke Skywalker and buries his and Leia's lightsaber. And then we see her and this old woman talking, and the old woman asks her, "What's your name?" She says, "Rey." She says, "Well, what's your last name?" And Rey looks off into the distance, sees the force of Luke and Leia looking at her, and she says, "Rey Skywalker, Star Wars, The Rise of Skywalker." And that is how it came to be. Now, I know that was kind of a quick little thing, but I don't have all day to do this. And so now I'm going to move on to the fact that Leia did have a lightsaber, and that Leia pretty much completed her Jedi training with Luke. Yeah, I know, right? Pretty shocking. But because she saw what was going to happen in the future with her son, she ended up not completing it because she could tell that she was not going to be needed as a Jedi to help her son. When Luke and Rey are talking on the planet, he gives her Leia's lightsaber to use. That is where Leia's lightsaber came to be. So I thought that was pretty cool that Leia did receive Jedi training and almost completed it, but not quite. Now I want to get to the fact that Rey was the granddaughter of Palpatine. Now, as much as I was kind of blown away by that, this is where I'm going to get a little critical of this film, and that there's not enough build-up and not enough explanation as to why she was a Palpatine. Because we find out that her mother and father were really her mother and father, but somehow her father was Palpatine's son. Now, obviously, Palpatine did the nasty and the birds and the bees before he became a Sith Lord, because otherwise, who the heck would, with a Sith Lord? I sure as heck wouldn't. Maybe you would, but I don't know. But obviously, it happened before. That's just what I'm guessing. Maybe I'm wrong. So why haven't we heard anything or known anything about this supposed son until this final film? Now, again, I know they were the big reveal. She's a Palpatine. But I would have liked to see a little more story on who the son was. I mean, it didn't have to be anything big, but maybe utilize more flashbacks to explain who her father really was. Because that's a pretty big thing to have. Her father was the son of a Sith Emperor, Emperor Palpatine. Now that's a pretty big thing to kind of just gloss over, and then boom, Palpatine, he's alive. And I'll get to that, don't worry. But this is her granddaughter. So I wish I would have seen a little bit more of that, a little bit more explanation. I think that was one of the biggest things I had an issue with in this film, is it just kind of dropped it on us, which I feel didn't make it as powerful as it could have been. So that's where I wish they would have had a little bit more explanation with who her father was and why, big question, why Palpatine didn't try and turn his son to the dark side and join him as a Sith. That was also part of the issue I had, is if he's such a big emperor and with the dark side, why didn't he try and turn his son? That's the question I have, the big question. The other thing I had a little bit of an issue with is the fact that Palpatine was somehow alive. Now, yes, people may say that, well, he was just thrown down a tube, so how do you know? We didn't see the death, but we haven't heard anything at all on what he was doing. I get, apparently he was controlling all the other Sith Lords, but we didn't get any inkling of how he was still alive or how he even came to be alive. Now, yes, he was on a giant, life support machine that he like rode around, like kind of like those chairs that go up the stairs, you know, if you can't go upstairs. Except that, just a whole body thing on his back and just. So that's the other issue I had. Getting back to the point, is that we didn't even have any inkling or any little flashbacks or any, I mean, maybe not even flashbacks, but just any little story things to maybe suggest that he's possibly alive, maybe he's not, but that could really engage us as an audience as, ooh, maybe he is, maybe he isn't, because at this point, none of us expected him to be alive, and so when it happened, it wasn't so much as a boom, whoa, it was kind of like a, huh? At least for me, like, he's alive? Well, I want to know how, who helped him, how did he get here, and what does this mean, and why is his eyes just like back in the back of his head, you know, white? That is the other issue that I had with this film, is that Emperor Palpatine came out of nowhere as well, just like the fact that Rey was his granddaughter. And so I would have liked to know, had a little more as an audience member, a little more integration of, well, here's a little sneak and, ooh, does that mean Palpatine's alive? And, ooh, does that mean Palpatine's alive? And I'm meaning this throughout the last two films, The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi, because it just didn't seem as, it didn't hit me as big and hard as I think it was supposed to, just because it was the fact that, oh, wow, he's alive. And again, I'm not the filmmaker. I don't know what they were going for or how they thought. Maybe there's just too much and they needed to condense it. So I'm not any kind of like man here saying, this is how it should have been done. I'm saying, this is what I thought maybe should have happened and why I feel like it should have happened, because then it could have been more impactful to us as an audience, especially this being the third and final film of this new trilogy and the final film in the Star Wars saga. Now, it was the final film in the saga, but they kind of left it open at the end. We got the shot of Rey standing there with those two suns in the back, kind of like we saw Luke at the end. But that does sort of leave it open. Some people may say, no, it doesn't, but it sort of does, because if Disney really wants to, they could start a whole new journey with Rey as the new Skywalker. So there's opening. There is an opening to start a whole new series per se with Rey the Skywalker, or Rey Skywalker, easier way to say that. So it'd be interesting to see what really does happen with the Star Wars saga. I know there's an Obi-Wan film that's planning on happening. I think that's pretty much been confirmed, but I have to read more on that. But yes, so who knows what's going to happen with this new film series. If there's going to be more Star Wars stories like we've seen now with this entire saga, this 9-film saga, or if they are just going to end it there. But I guess we'll see, what happens with that whole thing. And so I think that is where I'm going to end it here. I did really enjoy the film. Again, the graphics were great. Sound effects were great. The actors, obviously, I enjoyed the acting. Everyone did an amazing job. Throughout all three films, I fell in love with the characters. I felt for the characters. And even Kylo Ren at the end, I did feel bad. And despite the issues I had, it doesn't mean, like I said, I didn't enjoy it. Because like I've said before, I have enjoyed it. And there's no problem having some issues with films and just asking questions. And that is why I am doing these reviews, is because, again, I am bringing my take on this film or TV show, depending on what I'm reviewing that day, and bringing it to you and giving my opinion and my review on it, because I do enjoy doing that for you all. And with that, I am going to end this episode here. So once again, thank you so much for watching. If you have any comments about the film, put them in the comments below. I'd love to read them, or comments on this review. I know it's a little longer than the other two reviews I've done, but Star Wars is such a big thing, and that summary took a little longer just because there were specific parts that I wanted to just get out there. And so I am going to end this episode here now. Once again, thank you so much for watching, and like always, I will see y'all later. Peace